Welcome to Top Rated Gym Podcast for the gym owners aiming to take their business to the next level. I'm your host, Andre, and I'm interviewing top performance, best rated, highest revenue, fastest growing gyms in the world, regardless if they have a single location or empire of thousands. If you own a gym and looking for ideas how to get more leads, increase conversion, grow your membership base, or facing troubles with customer retention, maybe your employees or operational challenges, this is your podcast. Let's get started. Hello everyone, my name is Andres Vujovic and I'm your host for Top Rated Gym. If you want to learn how to utilize technology to save time, save money, grow your gym and combine it with your operations, this is the episode you want to listen to. Today, I'm happy to introduce Matthew Miller, who is a co-founder, chief brand officer, and director of fitness for SWEAT440. SWEAT440, guys, it's a boutique fitness concept, circuit training that starts every 10 minutes. He's also franchisee owner, so it's unique perspective knowing both sides, corporate leadership and the franchisee experience. Matthew believes in the importance of operation systems, and he's a big fan of technology and AI. Welcome to the show, Matthew.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Matthew, last time you spoke, I was taking notes like a madman. I know you have over 20 years in the fitness industry, and you get opportunity to train celebrity and entertainers and professional models and athletes and children and other health-conscious individuals. Would you mind sharing a little bit about your story with the audience?
Sure. Yeah. So
how everything came together.
I've always been very health and fitness conscious person. I got into the industry just after college graduation in about 2003. I started off working as a personal trainer in a company within a company. So it was a big box gym with a personal training company, and was working really hard doing basically 30-minute fast food fitness and seeing 20 clients a day. And it was challenging and very low pay. So I quickly kind of like burned out on that. And that was in North Carolina. Eventually found my way to South Florida and started working in a corporate big box gym in Miami rather. And worked there for about a year and a half. And then finally around 2008, 2009, started getting out on my own, having my own book of personal training clients, and really like spreading my wings and as a business person and not being supported by a gym company, so to say. Eventually, I got really busy. I had a lot of clients, and it got to the point where I could start hiring trainers to take over clients that I didn't necessarily have time in my day to be able to attend to. And that grew really strongly until eventually I kind of got burned out on that too, and needed some more ideas on what to do and how to evolve myself as a business person, as a professional, and as a helper to people in the fitness industry. Came up with the concept that would eventually be SWEAT440, and took that crude concept to a good friend of mine who became my business partner. His name's Cody Patrick, and he and I jointly came together and put SWEAT440 on the ground in 2018, and have since grown that to 25 locations that are 2 that are corporately held, 20 that are currently open, and another 3 that will be open in the next 2 or 3 months. That are all franchise.
Wow, man, you started from nothing, from idea, getting in a 2 digits franchise opportunity, growing rapidly. It's pretty impressive. Many people would love to have that opportunity. And then you created it. Tell me, is that okay? Is that done? Or do you have a bigger goals? How does this look like 2034, like 10 years from now?
That's a great question. I mean, I think we always have a lofty goal of being that company that has 1,000 units on the ground eventually. But I think a more realistic short-term goal would be to double our growth by end of next year. I think that's realistic and feasible. We've sold a good amount of locations in order to help support that growth. So now it's a matter of getting those studios open and continuing our franchise sales process with capable, qualified owners. So I think in the next 2 to 3 years, if we could get into that 100, 150, maybe 200 range, then I think we'd be in a really good place.
My God. You know what? You started, but okay, 1,000 is a good number, but let's be realistic and just double it in a year. Stay humble. While everybody else is happy with 5%, 10%, maybe 50, we'll settle down for 100 and then continue that for next couple of years until we reach 200, and we'll get there eventually. I love that, man. That the way just you said it vibrates with the confidence.
Well, I don't want to come off as overconfident, but we talk about these as an internal team on a regular basis, and we have models and projections to support all of this. It's not just conjecture. And where we're thinking is that we've intentionally gone really slow as a franchise company in the last like 4 years, basically, or 3 years since COVID really got over the hump there.
Mm-hmm.
And we did that intentionally so that we could prepare our operations and prepare our teams for that eventual spurt of growth. So now we feel like we've reached that point. We've reached that pinnacle where we have all the necessary pieces in place, and we can go forth and grow in a conscientious, responsible way that is still expedient.
And that's a good foundation. When you talk about slowing down so you can accelerate, it's almost like slowing down before the storm.
Yeah.
But I want to know what keeps you hungry. Tony Robbins talk in one of his business mastery seminars says there's a one keyword, one word that separates people, those who become successful and stay successful and continue growing versus those who plateau and went down.
Okay.
Hunger.
Yeah.
What makes you hungry every morning? Like you already have 25 locations. Like why would you keep pushing?
Well, I mean, first of all, I love my job and I love the people that I work with. I'm very blessed to be surrounded by wonderful individuals that are way smarter than me, that are sharing of the same vision, have the same passion, the same hunger. So that gets me up and going every morning, knowing that if I don't put my feet on the ground and get up and get to work, somebody else on my team is. And if I'm not pulling my weight, I feel terrible. So that's a big drive. I think I read a quote somewhere, and I can't remember who it was, that two things that drive successful individuals, and that's a little bit of overconfidence that they can overachieve and a big fear of failure. And I think I have both. I tend to be very optimistic, and I tend to think that everything is going to work out okay. Hopefully it does. And I definitely have a very strong sense of failure, and I do not want to wake up in the morning and look at myself in the mirror and think that I could have done more. I think that going back, like it's very much a team effort, and everyone on my team, I think, shares kind of that same initiative for a drive. So it's a very pleasant place to work.
Never thought about that, Matt, but recently I read a book from Elon Musk called the Elon, it's biography. And when you see what he is driven by, absolutely visionary guy of the world, or the history, but also he's consistently talking about fears, his personal fears. What if AI takes over and it's not controlled? We need to fight it. What if the planet gets doomed and we need to back up? What if it's not his own personal failure, it's almost like humanity failure he's looking after?
Yeah.
And that drives him all the time. And I learned from one of the coaches as well, says we all do things for two reasons. Either we gain the pleasure or avoid the pain. And when you combine both, you have satisfaction in what you're doing, knowing that you're running away from something you don't want to happen.
Yeah.
And it gives you pull and push in the same time.
That's a very elegant way of putting it, for sure. I mean, you think about some of the best athletes, like Michael Jordan, for example. He was as much driven by the fear of losing as he was by the celebration of winning. So yeah, I think that applies to both sport and to business.
And you start with something that says, I love what I'm doing. If you don't have a heart in it to start with, nothing else matters.
Yeah.
You can be the same person, but if you're in the industry that you don't like and you do it for the money, it just doesn't work, right?
Well, and I think that, myself and Cody, my business partner, our CEO, we both came from personal training backgrounds. And I think anybody that gets into the fitness industry in that capacity is getting into the fitness industry to help people. And then eventually making money and having a business and being able to support your family is a part of what you have to do, right? So, but it always goes back to that initiative, that drive to help people to better themselves. And our pathway of doing that is through fitness. And so once we got to the point in our careers and our lives where we realized that, yeah, we were having a great impact on our local community, and that microdome was really great. We wanted to expand that and be able to assist and help people in other communities. And so the only way that we saw that was feasible to do that, particularly with this new company that we created, was to franchise and give local franchise owners the opportunities to open a successful, impact their communities, bring more health and fitness to each individual's life that they deal with, so that they kind of make the world a better place. And that's kind of where we're trying to get to.
And I'm impressed with your concept. I work out in a group workout environment. I have a personal trainer. I love working out, especially with assistant, because I compress time, right? I get 30 minutes, 40 minutes more done than somebody 2 hours sitting in a gym and spending time on the cell phone. But you went a step further. It's like you're never late. You can come anytime that fits for you, because busy individuals counts minutes. It's 1 hour distance. It's kind of you're squeezing somebody in your schedule instead of you adjusting to their schedule. So the class starts every 10 minutes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, that was kind of the genesis of the concept. Going back to being a personal trainer, I was listening to my personal training clients come to me after they had just started doing all these different boutique fitness concepts. And they all raved about the wonderful class environment they were in, the music, the instructor, the sense of community, and all those things that you get that are positives from group fitness. But everyone also always had the same complaint, and it was getting to class on time, booking their class, a week out in advance, and then something in life happening, whether it was traffic or couldn't find parking or their kids or their job or whatever it might be, prevented them from getting in this class that they had built their entire schedule around. And now not only are they paying for the class, but now they're paying for a cancellation fee on top of that. And it's just a really not good feeling for the customer to have to go through all this. So that was kind of how the concept came up was, how can we make this more efficient? How can we make it more consumer friendly? And so, yeah, the concept is 4 stations that each last exactly 10 minutes. And you move through it on a station-based, very assembly line approach to fitness. So every 10 minutes, one group starts in station 1, one group ends in station 4, and everyone else can around.
Yeah, and you're getting in and out of the circle anytime, like you're just circling through it.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly a 40-minute class. So you know exactly when you're going to start, you know exactly when you're going to end. If you have to be a certain place right after your class, you can literally count to the minute. That's how long the class is going to be.
So talking about your growing enterprise, it didn't start overnight. It didn't start easy. There was some time, probably moments of doubts, struggles, thinking like, oh my God, what did I get myself into it? Would you mind describing one of those moments, and as well, what came out from there?
Well, I mean, there's tons of challenges and struggles that have come up along the way. I mean, COVID being the biggest one, but that was a little bit further down the line than where I think you're talking about. When we first started our idea of this concept, we knew that tech needed to be a big part of what we were going to do. And so we knew we wanted to have the exercises demonstrated on video screens so that when you got to where you're going to go, you were going to see what you had to do, and the instructors could just lead the class through the video screens. And we were probably 2 weeks away from when we had announced our grand opening was going to be. Our PR company had made announcements. We were on social media and everything, announcing when we were going to be. And our software was still not really.
And is it your in-house developed software, or is it something you vendored out?
Yeah, this was all proprietary. And so we had contracted with a guy whose background was working with like 7-Eleven video screens. So like when you go to a 7-Eleven, you see the little video playing whatever the fountain drink thing is. That was the software that he had access to. And this particular guy, we weren't able to communicate very well with him. English was not his first language, and fitness certainly was not in his language repertoire. And we just couldn't figure out how we were going to get this software going. I had a spreadsheet a mile long of all the different kinds of time intervals that we could possibly do with different exercise conglomerations and timers to make the thing unique. And when we finally got to about 2 weeks out, he had a very sticky beta version of it that the limitation was it could only have 4 videos on the screens. And we knew one of them had to be the timer. So we were limited to 3 exercises. And that basically made our entire system like evolve to the point where it was so simple that we couldn't screw it up. Now, the software was still very, very limited, and it was still very iffy. And about a week ahead of time, or 2 weeks ahead of time, we had another friend of ours come in and develop a beta version of what eventually became, more akin to what you see on the screens now. Yeah. And that saved us. We were going to fail miserably because the software was terrible. But eventually we got it to work. And so that was a huge challenge that we came over in the very beginning, was this, feeling that our software was going to let us down. We had this great idea, but something was going to be amiss, and we weren't going to be able to figure it out. And luckily, eventually we were able to figure it out. So it worked out okay.
I'm going to tell you something not relevant to this, but a company called Top Golf.
Oh, yeah.
Or like indoor field golf shooting. They're registered as a software company,
Makes sense.
not entertainment. Why? Because their valuation in a marketplace is based on a software because their proprietary is a software that runs the business,
Mhm.
not membership and admissions.
Yeah.
Since you have proprietary, something to consider it.
Oh yeah, yeah. We kind of like to fancy ourselves as a software company that happens to do fitness classes in a group workout setting. We had said that a bunch when we were first starting out. We kind of like scaled back on that thought a little bit, but software is still
Mm.
one of the driving forces behind what we do. It makes our operations so much simpler. It makes our integrations seamlessly connected. So yeah, I totally understand what you're saying.
Wow, I love that. And that's really giving you such a competitive advantage in the market. Decision to go bold into something that's totally not yours. Strength, but knowing that this is a mandatory part of operation scaling, bringing consistency across all the locations and making it so unique for you.
Yeah,
And if you find a vendor who does that, that means everybody will have it and you wouldn't be competitive advantage. So you have to make some bold movements sometimes.
for sure.
Let's talk about growing the business. Matt, you already have technology affinity beside being great in personal training and growing the gym and relationship with your members and community. But tell me about, how you see technology beside your system works in a sales, in marketing, in operations, and how do you approach it? Do you develop everything yourself, or do you have a vendor selection process? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, we do some in-house and we do some white labeling. It just kind of depends on the source that we're at. But when you talk about scaling, scaling is really about delegation, and there's no better delegator than automation. So
Mm.
the more that you can automate, the better your life is going to be, and the faster you can grow, right? So yeah, I mean, we have an in-house proprietary software like we talked about, and that's mainly like the exercises that you see on the screen and the videos that run the class and how that whole thing works. One quick little anecdote about like how it kind of streamlined operations for us. We like to keep our operating our payroll as low as possible, just like any business, right? You want to be efficient.
Mm.
So most classes, most gyms that open up, they have a front desk staff and they have a coaching staff, right? And
Yes.
those are your two main things. You have a general manager that kind of oversees the two. Well, in a typical gym that has an hour-long class, your front desk staff is really busy for the first 10 minutes before a class starts, and they might be kind of busy the last 10 minutes after a class ends, right?
Mm.
But in that 40-minute window in between, what are they doing? They're not doing much, right? They might be making some phone calls if they're hyper efficient as sales associates, but most of that's not very qualified. You don't get that luxury in a Sweat 440 because we start a new class every 10 minutes. So there's someone coming in at all times. But having a
Mm.
front desk staff that's staffed there at all times would not be very efficient. That would be, a really like expensive position after a while. So with our tech, we've made it to where our check-in processes and our names on the screens and how we circulate our station zero is very hyper efficient. When we first opened, people would check in through the app and there would be nothing indicating like when their class started, what position they were in. And we'd have the front desk person be like, Andre, you're at A. You're at A. Andre, go. And it just wasn't a very good experience, right? It wasn't very efficient. So we developed our software over time to where now we have names on the screens. We have a holding tank station and station zero before you start. So you know exactly where you're going to start, if you're going to be with a partner, who you're going to be with, what time it is, the countdown before your class starts. So now all we have to do is maybe check you in, but you should be able to do that through the app yourself too. So it makes the entry process that much easier and that much more efficient. So just on a studio economics level now, the technology has already streamlined our payroll processes by making that position easier. So you can run on a one-person staff. You could run on a two-person staff when it should be three. And it's just that much more efficient.
And it's kind of you're taking out with technology things they're even not contributing to some kind of relationship, like you said, screaming somebody's name, trying to figure it out, maybe properly misspelling it or pronouncing it. You by having humans involved, you're prone to mistakes and bad experiences. Now you have total technology taking over, and you have human element there still. As a staff member, you're not totally employee less. Like you are not going at a zero employee studios. Maybe you will.
Probably not. I mean, there's still a human experience there that needs.
You'll put some
Yeah.
robot there. But my point is, when we can automate we are eliminating these repetitive, redundant human mistakes that don't contribute much to experience. Usually they take out from experience.
Yeah, for sure. That's exactly right. And one of the other things that it helps with, with our coaching staff on the floor, if you and I are partners in the class, our names are going to be on the screen. And so when I go up to approach you guys, I've got a 50-50 chance of getting it right the first time, what your name is. And once I get your name, I'm going to see it the entire class. I'm going to know what your name is. And so I'm going to be able to talk to you on a personal one-on-one basis, give you corrections, give you feedback, whatever it might be, give you encouragement. And it just makes it that much more of a personal process. You're no longer just a number in a gym or just a member that's there doing a circuit. You actually are Andre, and we know who Andre is, and we can, provide a more personal experience for Andre.
Plus, everybody who is working out together can much easier get to know each other because there's names there involved.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So it builds an even greater community experience.
I will love that. Love that. Listen, this is what I love about technology, creating in operations, and you are scaling that. Now, adding another location to the same system is just a fact of onboarding the software to, putting the hardware and software, and that's it. You don't have to repeat it. So when you multiply that times 25 locations, that's at least saving 50 employees across the brand, and all that money is staying. And not only money, but frustrations, schedule, employees, training.
Right. Exactly. It makes the operations of the system that much more simplistic and efficient to where people, going back to, I was talking about earlier, why we get in the business. You get in the business to help people. You don't get in the business to have to do all these ancillary things. You want to be able to focus on actually helping people. So our coaches get the benefit of having these systems in place to where they can really focus on what matters to them. That's helping people improve themselves.
How would you say somebody who is not as advanced in tech as you guys are, but they understand the need for technology? Let's say I own the gym, I'm single location owner, it's my passion, I'm starting out. I don't have money to put the money behind the developers, but I need to find vendors who can help me with something. Is there anything you'll learn how to avoid bad vendors or how to select somebody who is like your booking system? Why did you go with Mariana Tech versus MindBody or Vagaro or somebody else?
Yeah, we did a lot of research before we went with MindBody. We had developed our own proprietary customer management software. It didn't quite make it to fruition the way we wanted it to, but one of the things that we did develop was the names on the screen through that software. And so we knew we wanted to keep that because it did make our operations that much simpler. And so we were looking at the different software systems. Mariana Tech stood out to us as one that had a really nice customer interface and really good UX experience for the customer. But they also had the names on the screens because they came from that flywheel background of selecting your spot. And when you select your spot in class, now we have the ability for our software to take that name and pop it up onto our screens through API. So it made life that much simpler for us to white label that and to white box it through Mariana Tech. I would just recommend anyone that's out there doing their research on these things to do a thorough amount of research on the software companies that you want to work with. Find the ones that provide you with what you need most. If it's reporting, find the one that has the best reports for you. If it's user interface, find the ones that have the best user interface for you. But really do your research and really do all the demos that you can on multiple different levels so that you fully understand the software before you go into it.
And then we are looking also to future-proof it. Like you mentioned API. An API is, for those who don't know, it's a system that you can integrate to get connected with a database of the integration software. So you can pull data that's not only through the interface, but through the database. So it gives you infinite expandability for the future integration in other systems like screens and check-ins and tablets and mobile apps and other marketing software that you might use in the future, right?
Sure. And third-party softwares like ClassPass integrations and GymPass and Wellness Hub integrations and things like that. You want to make sure that those things are seamless and easy to use for that particular user because that's going to be a piece of your business as well. Yeah, and that all goes into it. You want to have those conversations. Salespeople tend to tell you all the things the software will be able to do, whereas once you get into the integration, they tell you exactly what it can do right now. So just ask lots of good questions and make sure that the software that you're selecting is thoroughly vetted.
Yeah, test it. Yeah. Now, biggest word in technology recently, and it's swiping out everywhere. Everybody's trying to get a piece of it, is AI.
Yeah, for sure.
So what do you think about AI? How AI finds a place today or maybe in the future in the gym industry? Have you ever considered like where this is going? You know, Peter Diamandis, before you answer it, on one of his Abundance 360 conferences, the most memorable conference about AI, he said, by the end of the decade, we'll have two types of companies: those who fully utilize AI and those who don't exist. So it's like black and white.
Yeah, no gray area in between. Uh, Yeah, no, I totally get that. And to quote Ricky Bobby, if you ain't first, you're last. I think that applies here, right? The companies that are going to integrate AI are the ones that are going to survive. It's here. It's going to be used. It's not going anywhere. And you got to be on the cutting edge of learning how to use AI for your particular use, for your particular services. So some of the avenues that we're looking are in particular in the customer support avenues and in marketing. And so we're still on the early cusp of exploring some of those. We've got a couple pilots and beta versions coming out in the next couple of weeks. They're going to help with our customer support systems and help with our marketing systems. And all this is a way to, again, automation, delegation, leverage different kinds of technology so that we can be more efficient with what we're trying to do. Because as a franchisor, it's our responsibility to make sure that we're cutting edge in innovation.
Mm.
And what that innovation is going to help us do is to reduce costs for our franchisee. And so as we can start to reduce costs for our franchisee, we can start to increase our net income and make our franchisees that much more profitable. And as they win, we win. And so it's really something that we take very seriously.
So I always believe that as AI is coming very strong, and our technology is infusing it in every area. But a lot of people ask, like, oh, will AI replace my employees, my own in-house employees? I like to say that I ain't gonna replace employees directly, but employee or company using AI will replace those employees or companies not using AI.
Hmm.
And when we develop AI in Referrizer, for example, for front desk, we're looking at their job description, their job responsibility on a daily basis, says what is the one least creative and the one that could potentially deliver the crappiest experience.
Yeah.
And like you said, support. AI doesn't have response time of forgetting the lead, right? It's instant. It always gives consistent responses, does have to be retrained every time you hire a new employee because it learns and consistently evolves. And I believe AI will start replacing one by one bullet point from our job description of employees. You already did it with technology, through automation, through the screens. You're replacing need to show everybody's how to perform the exercise properly. You're removing with the app need to check in, to greet them, to assign them. So one by one, little thing is taken away. And then you're freeing up employees with the time or resources to do something more creative, something smarter, or freeing up place for the revenue.
Yeah. So I agree with most of that. I would caution that right now, artificial intelligence is not, I guess, what we would think about sci-fi as being artificial intelligence, right? It's not just spitting out like creative thought answers at you. It is a advanced language learning model that is taking information, researching information, and spitting it out into a digestible, quick, very, very fast way. And you can make those more efficient based off of the inputs that you're putting into it, right? So right now, if you went on ChatGPT and asked it what SWEAT440 was, it would tell you what the website says, what reviews say, what the different things on the internet say about SWEAT440. Whereas if I ask my ChatGPT what SWEAT440 is, you're going to get a very different answer because I talk to it all the time. So it's going to tell you about franchise growth models. It's going to tell you about revenue initiatives that aren't even public yet. And it's going to be able to do more for me than it would for anybody else, right? So the point being that there's always going to be a space for someone to train that AI until we get to way advanced where it's like Terminator 2 Judgment Day. We don't want to get there. But right now there are going to be a necessary level of employees to be able to handle the training of those AI bots to make sure that they're answering things correctly, they're answering customer service points efficiently, and they're performing their, like you said, repetitive tasks correctly and efficiently. And it's my job on the branding side to a certain degree to make sure that message is being delivered the way that SWEAT440 wants that message to be delivered. So I don't think it's going to be replacing employees, but those employees that are currently on staff are going to have kind of a new role, and
Correct.
and those that adapt
Correct.
are going to accelerate their growth, and those that don't will have a hard time. Just like businesses that don't use AI will have a hard time.
Absolutely agree. I measured in my system of, thousands of interactions via text messages, and it hurts me sometimes. I see the lead who is involved in conversation. They're talking about services, explaining the questions, and the lead said, "Okay, I'm ready to book. Do you have available on Wednesday morning?" And then there's no response. He says, "Hello," no response.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like 24 hours later, it's like, "Yeah, sorry, I missed your message." Boom. A lifetime value of that member is gone. Like
For
$2,000,
sure.
$3,000 out. And that happens over and over and over.
Mhm.
With the AI, it's solved. So we're testing now some fantastic features with AI. It's incredible how quickly it learns and cross-pollinate the knowledge. Like
Yeah.
you can compare 3 different services and it's going to give a coaching about how both benefits by itself, understanding both versions. It's freaking me out how good it is. But I'm looking for something that doesn't exist. And tell me, this is like a little brainstorming.
Okay.
Imagine you have 4 cameras in your studio, monitoring every angle, seeing every member from the 4 angles.
Sure.
And like full self-driving, understanding the posture and a proper exercise moment for that exercise.
Yeah.
If you check a gas cube, for example, a gas cube have AI that understand your posture. Like it aligns the dots on your body and they can use it to adjust the muscles and do proper correction of the posture. Right. But it's a human understanding what AI interprets. What about future where AI can say, "Hey, John, you were working out, but check it out. Like,
Oh yeah.
fix up your back. Like, get better position, spread your legs," or whatever personal coach does. AI will very soon be able to do that as well.
I believe we're already there. There's actually a franchise, I believe they're out in Fort Worth, somewhere in Texas, that is already doing that.
There we go.
I'm not sure where they're at in their in their scaling model, but I met one of the guys out at Ursa this past convention. Yeah, they're going to have that, and there may be ways for us to integrate that with SWEAT440 too. I am kind of particular to having some human interaction in these kinds of things. People go to a fitness space for the community. They want to be a part of people, and I don't think we're going to be losing that anytime soon, especially having come out of a pandemic where people were very isolated. You can see that's why there's a huge boom right now in the box brick and mortar fitness industry, because people realize that sitting at home on a bike doing a little video is not very rewarding. You need to get out there and see people and be interactive.
And I love that. In the beginning, AI can just consult a coach who is in a class. Says, "Hey, Michelle needs help." Because I do that all the time. And I see coaches cannot assist. Everybody was like eye pointing finger, like, "Look at posture of that guy. He's going to hurt himself if he continues like that."
Oh yeah, for sure.
So technology is going to enable us so much that everybody will have their own personal agent eventually, where you go in, you join the community, you are inspired. What I love about these group workouts, you're inspired by somebody else's work ethics, by their commitment, seeing them, they're coming over and over, seeing somebody who is way younger than you, really working hard, and somebody who is way older than you, working as hard and gives you motivation, like, "Come on, there's no need to slack. Get your ass up." Like, bump it up.
100%. Yeah, I agree with that.
My God, time flies. I just saw the hours. Man, we're on the fly. I got to ask you a couple quick, fast response question.
Okay.
I know you are a leader who likes to learn, but I want to know, where do you get your knowledge? So tell us, what conferences that you attend and podcast you listen to, mentors you listen to, or maybe even books you read recently.
Yeah, I mean, I went to the Ursa conference this past it was March. So that was the one I went to this year. I'm a big Audible fan. I have a 20-minute drive into the office on a pretty daily basis. So I believe this year I've knocked out a couple of Hormozi books, $100 million offers, $100 million leads, the E-Myth, a couple of different books on sales, Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference, and Gap Selling by Keenan. Really great sales books. And as far as podcast goes, I do listen to a few. WTF Gym podcast is one of the ones that I've kind of gotten onto lately. But yeah, those are kind of some of my resources.
Got it. I typed notes. I'm going to get some of these books because there are some that I haven't completed, because I'm a big advocate of Audible, like an University of the Wheels. I'm just approaching 210 downloads. I'm loading it up for next quarter. And recently I interviewed one of the F45 locations
Mhm.
who won the Reputation Google Review and Review Challenge.
Mhm.
This guy got 172 five-star reviews in 30 days.
I was listening to it on the way
Won
in.
won the competition. He is a gem. And like, I want to know how he did it. Like how he he didn't get banned by Google by getting so many.
Well, that's a
Uh,
good point. I mean, we have a Google review challenge internally for all of our franchises. I believe it's every May. I don't know what the top line number was last year, but it had to be approaching in the 100 level for Google reviews for the winter. So that's kind of one of the ways that we approach some of these things that are more fun, more interactive for our studio managers to kind of have some level of competition and connectivity.
There we go. And I know you have a policy that every gym needs to generate at least 5 reviews a month, right?
Yeah,
You're tracking, you're measuring that, you're controlling that.
right.
Oh my God, we have so much to discover. We didn't even scratch the surface. Matthew, you're a gem. You're incredible. And I see that now. I see why beginning of this conversation he says, we'll slow down to 100% this year is
Mhm.
definitely doable. And for you guys who are looking at SWEAT440 now and Googling it, check it out because this brand is expanding. And I highly recommend you take a look because when they get to 1,000 locations, the territory will be saturated. And now it's a time to
Now it's
consider
time to go. Yeah,
it.
for sure.
So I didn't ask you to pitch that. I had to do it.
Thank you.
Matthew, I appreciate you sharing your wisdom, sharing the ideas, sharing such an incredible business story and personal story with us. Thank you so much on behalf of all our listeners, for your attendance today. You are incredible.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Looking forward to
And for everybody, make sure you find and follow as well Matthew Miller and check it out what SWEAT440 does and follow us for Top Rated Gym. See you guys next time. Wow, what an episode, right? Thank you guys for tuning in into this Top Rated Gym podcast. We hope you found valuable insights and practical tips to help you tackle the challenges of gym ownership. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on your favorite platform. We want to reach the community. With your help, we can be the biggest contributor, biggest resources for you and other gym owners. Don't forget to follow us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of them, YouTube. If you have any questions, feedback, or topics you would like us to cover, or people you would like us to interview, or if you want to be interviewed on the podcast, reach out at topratedgym.com. Stay tuned, stay motivated, keep pushing your gym to the top. Until next time, this is Andre signing off. Bye.